Hello everyone, Storm 1 here. Today we are still tracking a winter storm that is still in progress across central and eastern Kentucky. And we'll talk about the cold temperatures that will follow and some minor snow chances over the next couple of days. And then we're going to talk a little more about the medium range. Something else is starting to show up in the medium range that is catching my attention. So let's get started with the Kentucky Mesonet stations. These are the current temperatures as of almost 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Still in the low 20s across northeastern Kentucky. We've had heavy snowpack. Temperatures are going to stay a little bit colder. Meanwhile, the rest of the states either in the mid to upper 20s with some low 30s out there. You can see that down towards the Tennessee border. We got some low 30s out there. Let's actually check out radar right now because we still got snow ongoing out there. So for western Kentucky, the snow is pretty much done out there. Meanwhile, for central and eastern Kentucky, it is still continuing. And we are currently looking at the Natural Service Louisville radar site. And if we play this, you can see where most of the snow is going. So we kind of seen a little change of direction of the snow. Kind of going more on a northwest flow type of snow. So we can get a little bit of extra snow accumulation, especially north of 64 here, as the system here is pulling away. But the heavier snow bands are in eastern Kentucky, which if we check out eastern Kentucky here, it'll give a minute to load. It may not load in for us. Oh, there we go. Just have to hit that button again. And you can see here, we got some bands of some moderate to heavy snow. When you get those darker greens to yellow colors, that's moderate to heavy snow out there. In those areas there, could get a pretty good amount of snow before this system gets out of here, which this system here should be out of Kentucky, at least for the most part, a little after midnight. And then again, western Kentucky, it's already over for you. Bluegrass region points north and west. We still got some light snow around that probably continue for a few more hours, and then really by tomorrow morning, most of the snow should be gone. But I cannot rule out some leftover snow flurries, especially east of Interstate 75. So let's check out the latest HER model run. And you can see it's picking up our winter storm pretty well. And you can see how a lot of that snow, most of the snow moves out by late tonight. But you can see on that northwest flow, we can still have some snow flurries out there. It's even got some snow flurry action out towards western Kentucky as we wake up tomorrow morning. Some of that action will move into central Kentucky. And then again, some snow flurries may linger here and there. And then we're kind of mostly dry for your Sunday. And Sunday, we actually have a chance to go above freezing for temperatures, which if we check out the European model for high temperatures for your Sunday, you can see we got a chance to go above freezing, especially across southern Kentucky where we don't have nearly as much snow. Mid-30s across the south, areas along north of 64 may still be below freezing. Maybe the only exception would be Louisville, where they got their heat island effect out there. But for the rest of the state, low to mid-30s across the south, northern Kentucky, probably in the upper 20s to maybe right around 30 out there with that extra snowpack. And these are some of the more milder temperatures we've seen really in a hot minute out there. If we move on to the NAM model, really after Sunday here, we're watching our next system here, and it's actually just a cold front that's going to be coming through here during the day on Monday. And you can see here our low pressure system is way up north. It's going to be way up in Canada, but it's going to drag a cold front across the Ohio Valley, bringing in the threat for snow flurries and snow showers out there. Could get some minor accumulations out there, but I don't think it's going to be too much. And then there may be another system coming in behind that for Tuesday. You can kind of see it out towards Nebraska and Kansas. And that system may have a little better opportunity to put some more snow on top of what we have right now. And kind of going back to temperatures, I forgot to talk about Saturday. So for tomorrow, high is going to be in the 20s. We'll probably have some flurries out there, especially across central and eastern Kentucky. And you can see here, this is Sunday morning, and you can see could be some pretty cold temperatures in eastern Kentucky. Teens and even some single digits could be possible, especially if you get a clear sky. And this is the low temperatures for Monday. And you can see generally in the 20s, a little bit milder compared to some of our more recent mornings, which, believe it or not, back on Thursday morning, we had a couple mesonet stations that went below zero, and the Harrison County mesonet station hit -10 for a low temperature. So that's some serious cold right there. And then here's the high temperatures for your Monday. You can see here, most of us generally stay in the 20s behind the front, but out ahead of it could be in the 30s. But here comes the next round of cold air, and check out the low temperatures for Tuesday morning. If we can get some clearing over top of our snowpack, we could be down around zero once again. And then you look at high temperatures for Tuesday, you can see here, temperatures are going to struggle to warm up for your Tuesday. 20s across the south, could be stuck in the teens all day across northern Kentucky. And check this out for Wednesday morning. The European Mall getting a little aggressive on those cold temperatures for Wednesday morning. You can see here a lot of below zero readings out there. Now, that's if we get a clear sky. If we can get a clear sky, we can go below zero. If we don't have a clear sky, then it may be more in the upper single digits to the low teens out there. So, and you can see here how Wednesday could be a pretty cold day, and I think the Euro could be running a little bit too cold. I think we can see us getting back in the teens for Wednesday. And you can see here for Thursday morning as well, not as cold as Wednesday morning, but it's still pretty darn cold out there. And there's that opportunity for above freezing temperatures once again across southern Kentucky for Thursday. And then check out Friday from the European model. Hey, 40 start to return. We haven't seen that in quite some time, haven't we? And that's going to lead to our next conversation here, as we kind of talk about next weekend and into the week of the 20th. And that's going to be an interesting topic. We'll get to that in a minute. But here's the weekend temperatures now. This can easily change here on the Euro. It's where it's starting to get far out. But you can see up front, straight across Kentucky, pretty mild temperatures not too far away. 60s down across the southeast out there. And this is for next Sunday. And you can see here the hint that I'm getting ready to talk about here. Look at those temperatures northwest of us for next Monday morning. It's pretty cold. Let's start talking about that. So let's move on to the European model for the precip. And you can see there's our winter storm. It moves out of here. Here comes our next system for Monday. It will bring in some snow flurries and snow showers. Now, medium range guidance will have a hard time finding these snow flurries and snow showers. So there's a decent chance when you look at some of the medium range guidance, it's probably not going to show much of anything. But if you look at high-res data, it could be a different story. But regardless, though, I think we can get some snow flurries and snow showers for your Monday as that Arctic front passes through. And then there's another piece of energy back towards the west for your Tuesday. It's not showing much on here on the Euro, but if you look at vorticity, you can see there's a little bit of wind energy out there. So it's a weak shortwave trough that's going to move kind of into Kentucky here. And anytime we get a little bit of energy in our atmosphere, especially in a very cold air mass, we can get some snow flurries and snow showers once again. And I think Wednesday system, has a little better chance of putting more snow on the ground compared to Monday. But we'll see as we get closer to that. But that's going to be something to keep an eye on. That may have potential to be a winter weather advisory type of event. So that passes through. We'll go back to the precip type map. And you can see how that cold air really sticks around for Wednesday. But check out this warm up back off to the west. That ridge of high pressure starts to move off to the east. And then we get some southerly flow off to our west. And eventually that southerly wind flow moves into Kentucky. And that's where we start to see the milder temperatures for next weekend. But enjoy those milder temperatures while you can, because it ain't gonna last too long. And you can see here what the European model is going to try to do is spawn a storm out ahead of a relatively large Arctic air mass off to the west out there. And you can see that low falls along the Appalachian Mountains. Now, this is going to easily change here. We're at that point of range in the models where they show their bias, and they're not going to be accurate. But you may see some wild model runs on the setup here over the next several days. So far as I've seen, I haven't seen any crazy model runs today in terms of a storm system during that time. But despite that, if there's something that all models agree on, it's the cold air is coming in behind it. And we're going to move on to the European ensembles for that. And we're going to look at 2-meter temperature anomalies. So this is basically your temperature anomalies at the surface. So this is for today, below normal temperatures. That's just been the theme so far this month. And we continue those below normal temperatures really through the weekend and even get into early next week. Here's that next shot of Arctic air for your Monday and into Tuesday. And very cold temperatures for Wednesday morning out there. And here comes this moderation here for next weekend. The colder air kind of sticks around in the southeast a little bit longer, but check this out. Something different for a change. Above normal temperatures for next weekend. But look at this off to the west. You see a lot of blue. You see some purples, even some pink starting to show up. That's going to be the next Arctic air blast after next weekend. And you can see how cold it really starts to get in the central part of the country out there. And you can see how it's also very expansive. And you can see how that moves into Kentucky. So that moderation next weekend, it's not going to last very long. So that's the European ensembles. Let me show you guys the GFS ensembles out here. And if you don't know what these ensembles are, it's basically a model mean of. So the European ensembles has 51 members, and it's put all to a mean. The GFS ensembles has 21 members, and it's also put all into a mean. And this is the models that we normally look at this range. We don't really focus much on the Euro, the GFS, and the Canadian model because they're not going to be very accurate at this range. So let me show you the GFS ensembles here. And unfortunately, it's going to take a minute to load here, but here's that Arctic air blast for early next week. You can see how that continues. And then here comes that moderation for next weekend. Get a brief period of above normal temperatures, and then you pretty much see the same thing the European models are also showing. That Arctic air blast moving across a good chunk of the country. And you can see how that really settles in for the week of the 20th right there. This is January 21st, so this is 11 days out. And let me tell you guys something. You don't see a strong agreement like this very often. Usually at this range here, you probably see a little more white than anything else, and that's an indication for a lot of disagreement. Where we see these blues and purple colors for below normal temperatures, that's above normal confidence that there's going to be another big Arctic air blast coming in. And I would imagine that the model's going to trend towards a better agreement, especially within the ensembles, as we get closer. But kind of going back to European ensembles, I want to show you guys the 500 millibar height anomalies. So this is what we look at for your troughs in ridges of high pressure. So while we're going to see this major or potentially a major Arctic air blast towards, January 19th and maybe throughout most of your late January. Well, you can kind of see what's going on here. If I pull my pen out, we got this big ridge that builds across the northeastern Pacific through Alaska, through parts of BC, all the way up towards the Arctic Circle. There's also another ridge of high pressure just off the east coast out here. So you got that. So where's all this cold air going to go? Well, it's going to funnel into the central part of the country. That's where all that very cold air is going to go. And what you also notice, this is a huge trough as well. This trough goes all the way down to Mexico, all the way back up to almost Greenland. And this is basically what we call cross-polar flow. So the other part of the polar vortex is on the other side of the world. And it's very possible the polar vortex could really get shoved down into the lower 48, which could mean potentially some nasty cold into the United States. Potentially colder than what we've been seeing over the last couple of days. But there's something else I also want to mention here. With this ridge of high pressure off the East Coast, and this huge Arctic air blast, across the central United States, right in between these two is where we're likely going to see a big storm system. Anytime where we have a tight gradient in the height anomalies, usually is a good indicator that there's probably going to be a big storm in there. And one way to find that out is to look at the precipitation anomalies. So if we go to basically through late January, you can kind of see here, this is the 7-day precipitation anomaly. You can see the European ensembles suggest a corridor of above normal precipitation across the deep south, and even including parts of southeastern Kentucky. What this tells me here is probably where your active low pressure system track is going to show up. And you can see here that puts us here in Kentucky in a very good position for more snow during this pattern. And if we were to go to the GFS ensembles, for height anomalies, going back to that discussion, you kind of see a similar thing here. Now that ridge of high pressure is a little bit more to the northeast, but you still have that gradient there, just towards our northeast, which is still a decent indicator for a big storm somewhere in the eastern part of the country here. And if we look at precipitation anomalies now, something I've noticed in the GFS ensembles, it's really struggled to really find storm systems at this range here. So sometimes it's going to be underdone on the precipitation anomalies, or I should say, be underdone on the above normal precipitation anomalies. But despite that, you do see some green showing up across parts of the deep south. So the placement overall, there's an agreement, but how above normal the precip is where the disagreement is. But like I said earlier, GFS ensembles has really struggled to find storm systems, and the European ensembles has done a better job compared to the GFS ensembles in finding storm systems. So I'm going to lean more towards the European ensembles on this one for precipitation anomalies. So then again, our active storm track could be just to the southeast of Kentucky. At least that's what it looks like for now. Which an area I would definitely watch for the potential of big snows would probably be right in here. And there's two reasons. Number one, you got the Arctic air off to the west, but also going back, I know I've been going back and forth here, but I'm just remembering this. This is also very important. Not only we got all this Arctic air out here, but also with that ridge of high pressure just off the east coast, the Gulf of Mexico is wide open for moisture return, which means whatever storm system is going to be here is going to be loaded with moisture. And then if you mix in with the Arctic air coming in behind it, there's going to be a big snow out there. And this is definitely a look for a winter storm somewhere near or in Kentucky during this time frame. So we're definitely got to keep a close eye on, right around, I want to say, probably as early as the 19th through the 20th, and maybe all the way through the 23rd. Now, after that, it may get a little more iffy, but we'll see how that plays out. And one last thing before we end the video, let's check out the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the same time frame. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook. So the temperature is on the left, precipitation's on the right. You can see for us here in Kentucky, we're in a risk for below normal temperatures from January 16th through the 20th, and a risk for above normal precipitation at the same time. So not only it's colder, but it's also active. And check this out for days 8 through 14. This is when we start to get deeper into that time frame like I was talking about earlier. So this is from January 18th through the 24th. You can see how much more expansive that below normal area is. And you can see here, nearly the entire United States has a chance of below normal temperatures during that same time frame. The only exception is the southern half of the Florida Peninsula. You don't see that often from the Climate Prediction Center. You really don't. And also at the same time, we're also in a risk for above normal precipitation once again. So not only it's a colder pattern, but it's also a more active pattern, which means more snow chances for us. And don't be surprised if we start tracking a winter storm during this time. I'm a strong believer that there's going to be a winter storm with this pattern. I really do. I think it's a very good look for another winter storm somewhere in or maybe near Kentucky here during this time frame. And if we look at the probability outlook here for days 8 through 14, you can see here basically the eastern half of the, or I should say the eastern 2/3 of the country's got a slight risk for well below normal temperatures. Here's precipitation. Better odds of above normal precipitation is down towards the deep south. And here's the risk for heavy snow outlook. Sometimes they can be a little bit too expansive with these, but I understand why it's very large, because you kind of fit in with most of the possibilities. You can see we're actually in a risk for heavy snow during that time, which is something I can agree with. And also, there's a slight risk for high winds as well, which tells me they also see that potential for a strong storm system around that time frame as well. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the January 18th through the 24th time frame very closely over the next several days. But anyways, guys, this is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys got any questions, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.